Yeah, I kind of messed up the audio in the previous devlog, but anyways, today I'll be talking about the things I did to get my COD Zombies clone to a somewhat playable state. Also, this video is going to go a bit into the more technical side of my game, so if you just want to try it out, I put the link to it in the video description. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is how I created the level/map system in my game, because it's something you don't give a second thought to, but something you expect in almost every game. So I started by seeing if the game engine I'm using has a simple way of changing levels or scenes as they're called in Godot, which it does, but it's very simple, as in all it does is delete the current scene, then it spawns a new one and sets that one as the main scene, which it works. But if the scene you're trying to change to has a lot of stuff in them, then it causes the game to freeze for a bit before loading into the new scene, which looks very unpolished and doesn't allow for loading screens. So what I did was handle the whole system myself by having a singleton that handles what levels are loaded and can be loaded, and having another singleton that actually handles the loading of levels on a different thread, so it doesn't cause a stutter when loading the levels from memory, which also lets me show a loading screen. Also, with my custom level loading system, I made it so the way the levels are loaded are defined in a resource file, which lets me define the display name of the level, make the levels be hidden from the level select screen, change the order the levels show up in, and be able to change the thumbnail that's displayed. Another thing I let the levels do is define what weapons or power-ups are in the level, which saves on RAM not having to load every single weapon and power-up in the game, which also allows me to have map-exclusive weapons and power-ups to make each level feel unique. Okay, speaking of weapons are a major part of my game, obviously. The weapons in my game are similarly structured to the levels in my game, in which each weapon is first defined in a resource file that tells me how much the weapon costs, if it should be in the mystery box, or what the weapon should be classified as. Weapons in my game internally work by each weapon having a unique script that lets me fine-tune how the weapon behaves. On top of that, I created components that I can add to the weapon script that contains basic features, such as different firing modes and how the weapon should play its reload animations. Another thing I did was fully separate the view model from the weapon logic, which allows me to have multiple weapons use the same view models, but not have to load a new instance of the view model again, which saves on RAM. Also, a cool feature, well at least I think it's cool, is that the bullets that the gun shoots somewhat matters. You know how in COD, for example, you can have a sniper and an assault rifle that shoot the same bullet, but somehow they do completely different damage. Well, in my game, I made it so guns that fire the same bullets do the same damage. The only difference between guns are the amount of recoil it has and how fast it can shoot, which I think adds a little bit of immersion to a game about blasting a never-ending wave of zombies. Some of the other things I worked on is getting the weapons to feel right and satisfying to use, by making the guns very punchy when firing, in which you can feel them firing even without any sound. Also, for this project, I tried to tone down my reload animations, because if you go and look at my previous FPS projects, I tried to emulate the Modern Warfare 2019 style of animations, because at that time those animations were still fresh and new. But fast forward to today, almost every new FPS is trying to emulate that animation style. And don't get me wrong, I still like that animation style, but I think for this project, it will benefit from having a more calm animation style, where the thing makes the guns more satisfying and gives you like a little visual breather from all the chaos. Okay, next I'm going to talk about the zombies, because you can't have a zombie game without the thing that the game is about. Okay, I'm not going to lie, the current implementation of the zombies is still very basic and kind of unoptimized, but I think they're alright for this first playtest. One thing that differentiates my zombies from CODs is that my zombies don't turn to a MF that eats every single bullet you throw at them the longer you survive, because I felt it made the game very boring. So instead, I made the basic zombies have 3 tiers, starting with green zombies, which are the weakest and are very common in early game. Next being the yellow zombies, which get a 150% increase in health, and they start spawning at around wave 5. To finally, red zombies, which have a 300% increase in health from the green zombies. At the moment, red zombies are very unbalanced because currently you can't upgrade your weapons, so they might be a pain when getting to a high wave. Currently, zombies do have locational damage, and the last limb that you hit changes the amount of cash you get when they die. I do plan on ending this experiment to make killing zombies just a little bit more fun, but I haven't gotten to that yet. Okay, now I want to talk about some of the things that I have planned, the keyword being planned, which meaning they can be thrown out at any time. First, I'm going to start with things that are most likely coming to the game. First, starting with a way to upgrade weapons, basically an equivalent to the Pack-a-Punch machine. But for my game, I plan on not only the stats of the guns getting buffed, but also the models of the weapons to change. Another weapon thing I plan on adding is having dual wielding with certain weapons, because who wouldn't want to kill zombies with dual wielded pistols? Another thing I want is special waves, but I'm thinking of doing it kind of like the Garden Ops game mode from Garden Warfare, where a slot machine wheel gets spun, giving you a random wave, because I think that will be fun and adds some chaos to the game. Okay, now to some things that might make it to the game, like multiplayer. Currently I've written some systems to be easily able to add multiplayer, but not the whole game, so it might be kind of a pain to implement it, but it would add a lot of fun replayability. Speaking of replayability, I really want to add a way to create custom maps. Currently I was prototyping a way to create custom maps with the Godot editor, but I haven't gotten really far with it. And also I think needing to use the Godot editor to make custom maps might bring some security issues to the game, with being able to put custom scripts into the level. I was also thinking of using Trench Broom, but that's more suited for old school games that don't use roughness or normal maps for world geometry. I think that's all I'm going to talk about in this video. If you want to try out this early build of the game, you can find the itch.io link to it in the description. Feel free to donate to support the project, or don't, it's your choice. Also, if you do play it, please give some feedback so I can make the game better for you guys. And that, I guess I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.